Good evening, Kindlech. Here to God willing record from Likkkutei Toah from the Alter Rebbe, Parshas Metzora. It's on page 48 or Chaf Hey in this book. Trying a new setup here. Hopefully, we'll stay in place. Learning to bind our souls to God, give pleasure to God, and hasten the redemption, and further the Rebbe's Malchus. And we should have Mashiach now. Let's spur out those well springs. Alright, so basically speaking, Metzora is someone who's been afflicted with biblical leprosy. It could be for any of 7 reasons. Number 1 being evil speech, slander. If I can name all 7, I heard them recently. Robbery, murder. Okay, I think those are the only ones I remember off the top of my head. Try to get them for you, believe not or God willing. Alright, let's try to make the Rebbe proud and see what I got for you. What do you call an alligator in a vest? Investigator. I better keep it clean. In case you've heard that on another video. But here also is cute. What did Delaware? New Jersey. Alright, here we go. Likkkutei Toah Metzora. So this will be the law for the Metzora on the day of his purity. So now it's time for him to get purified. He's still a Jew. It's just touching on the outside of him. It's not really touching his inner essence. God is good. The Jew is good. And now we're gonna take care of the little bit of external trouble that he had. So let's see what we have to do. Such and such a place, in such and such a place. Why did this come? We talked about from a physical sense, from a spiritual sense. It's because the light of Chochmah left him. Chochmah is bittul, or wisdom. And the idea that God is always present, God's always here, a certain nullification of God. In the simplest sense, you've been studying for the test, you can't quite figure something out, you put your head down, you nap for a minute, and you pick your head up for a second, and you got it, but if I interrupt you just then, you won't be able to hold it. But if I give you a few more minutes, you'd be able to wrap your head around it, be yours forever. That's already Bina. But by the time that initial flash of wisdom is Chochmah. A certain bittul, a certain nullification of God, a certain awareness of God's presence, a certain fear of God, everything starts with all your understanding that you eventually get to is encompassed in God's presence. Alright. So what happened was the light of Chochmah left him. I'm going to say for now the light of God wisdom as an easy way of thinking. Ki Metzora Hashu Kameis, and a Metzora is considered as if he's dead. One of the few places we see this phrase. And we see that Chochmah is the opposite of wisdom. So the fact that he is now, so to speak, dead, it shows on what happened. It must be that Chochmah left him, because these two are opposites. Ein Sham. So let's get a little spiritual here. We're going to have to talk about the difference between the mind of the mother and the mind of the father. And we'll see what that means. God willing. Well, let's look first at the brains of the mother. That a mother rejoices over her children. When a person thinks about certain things about God's greatness, how he's enlivening him every second, whatever it is, then it gives birth to a certain love and happiness and burning flames of good stuff, of good feelings towards God. And it's a general desire to go out of oneself and connect to God and just be completely included in God. Going back to how we were before. Do better before. We didn't have the right hat angle, guys. Alright, here we go. I'm going dark on you. Alright, here we go. So he just wants to be included in God. He's so excited about God from some intellectual understanding. He wants to go out of himself and be included in God. But there's something higher. The brains of the Father. Let's see what that is. It's the way that the light of God dwells in supernal wisdom. Generally, there's the way we see things, where we see a multiplicity around us in a world and a lot of varied things. And there's the way God sees things. It's just Him. There's nothing but God. There's a godly way of viewing and our way of viewing. Maybe we could say that the way another person views you, there's a lot they might think or know about you. And the way you view you, you're just you. You're made up of a bunch of different parts. At the end of the day, though, you're you. You're like, okay, I mean, to them, it could be a lot of different things. One way of looking, possibly, you could say. Main thing to know is God is good. Alright, so it's looking at things from Hashem's side of things, that the infinite light of God should dwell in His wisdom, and this would generate such a nullification that He wouldn't be able or even have the possibility of power, so that He'd even have the ability to get excited to go out of Himself. He'd just be so nullified. It's almost as if He couldn't move. He'd be just so in awe, so awestruck of God. He'd be just so, I don't want to say a not nice word, but he'd be so excited. He'd just be so filled. He'd be there. He's there. There's nowhere to go. He's already there. He just feels God's presence everywhere, and that's it. He's done. He's finished. We're going to call this the level of the one who loves. So the brains of the mother, we're saying, is a person wanting to go out of themselves, ratzoi, and be included in God. And the brains of the father is saying he's kind of already there. He's just with God, and we're calling this the one who loves. So the brains of the mother is flaming fire, and the brains of the father is the one who loves. And this brains of the father, this supernal wisdom, is when we bow during Shemona Esrei, the prayer we say 3 times a day. Jewish men pray 3 times a day. It's a question if it's a biblical or rabbinic ordination corresponding to the patriarchs. Avram in the morning, Yitzhak in the afternoon, and Yaakov in the evening. And during this prayer, we bow a few times. This is considered the most nullified when a person is the most nullified during his prayer, and he's, so to speak, the most connected. The more a person feels himself, the less he's feeling God or herself, and the less, to make room for God, God can't dwell in a full vessel. So where ego is, where arrogance is, God can't be there. And this is the part of prayer where we're the most nullified. We got all excited with Psukei de Zimra and Kriyat Shema, and now it's reached a complete nullification. He's just standing in front of the king, as if he's nothing. So this level of the brains of the Father corresponds to the bowing of Shemona Esrei. Likkkutei Toah, and it's written about in many places. Levu v'divrei matzah matzah v'divrei matzah seinu reini v'inyan v'yayin yismak l'hatzu pani m'shemen v'alpi al parshas, I think, to us all eretz m'shusechem v'parshas sachim. Some are leave chashuv le'echad. The Rabbi gives a lot of references. 1 second, please. Chaim l'chaim. Said a bracha earlier. Everyone should have what they want and need, and most importantly, we should have Mashiach now. Amen. Excuse me. Moving on. If you get excited, a person gets a little distracted, a little confused, going through their day, and they're seeing the world, they're seeing themselves, they're seeing fears, they're seeing whatever it is they're seeing, resentments, God forbid. How do they recenter and reattach? They have to return their heart to the oneness of God. Every Jew has a sense of this, has an innate ability to connect to God's innermost oneness, and through a little contemplation, a little effort, he can take the princess out of the prison and get back to God's oneness. So if he gets a little excited or distracted, if his heart, literal language, the literal translation is if his heart runs, return to one. So if he's getting distracted or confused, he has to come back to God's oneness. Start there. And this nullification that a person feels when he thinks about God's oneness or God's supernal wisdom, all there is the light of God, it brings him to a state of return. To bring godliness here, down here in the physical world, down on the lowest place. And to be able to do this, he needs broad vessels, or to broaden his vessels. Which means he needs to learn a lot of Torah. It's very nice to feel God's presence and feel nullified. That's beautiful. But now he wants to bring it down and reveal it in the world. Well, to do that, you have to have what to give over. What are you going to tell people? How are you going to bring it down? You need to... Person's inspired to make a cake. Let's take something simple, Abdul. But if he doesn't know how to make a cake, that's great. I mean, he wants to. He's excited. He's in the kitchen. He's fired up. But he doesn't know how to make a cake. Maybe even he knows how to make a cake. He doesn't have a pan. He doesn't have an oven. How's he going to be doing? So a person needs to reveal godliness in this world. What's our primary tool? Is Torah. God wants us to connect to Him. He creates us. He loves us. He's enlivening us all the time. So how do we actually connect to Him? Through learning His Torah. He put Himself, so to speak, into the Torah, His blessed will and wisdom, His essence. Anytime a Jew wants to connect to God, he can take out the Torah and learn. And how much more so Chassidus, and feel healed and connected and good. And this was therapy for Jews for thousands of years. Anytime a person had a tough day, it wasn't pop a pile of Prozac, it was go to the base measures and learn. Anyway, if a person wants to reveal godliness to the world, and how much more so help another person, he has to have learned something. He has to have what to give over. If you go to the other person, they want to share something with you and you want to help them, you share with them some of your wisdom, your experience, that's very nice. It is. You gave up your time to help this person. They see you care about them. That's tremendous. But at the same time, it's your wisdom, it's their wisdom. Why should they listen to you? Maybe you said something that makes sense. Maybe not. Maybe they'll cause you to question what you thought. Who knows what it'll be. But if you come with the power of Torah and the knowledge that it's God's Torah, and there's an infinite gap between the creator and the created. We're all creations, even though, a Jew is a beautiful thing with a piece of God Himself inside. Nevertheless, here he is in the physical world, in a body. He is a creation. And nevertheless, he still has the ability to connect to the creator. But if he wants to say something that's going to be eternal in all times, in all places, he needs to go to the maker of the world, the one who wrote it down. If you want to know how the system works, talk to the system maker. If you want to be sure how the watch works, talk to the watchmaker. If you want to be sure how the world works and the person works, talk to the world maker, the person maker, the Jew maker. So that's one of the nice things about Torah. At least he knows what he's giving over to his friend is solid. It's 100%, no matter what, when, where, and why. Although obviously he has to be a little bit learned and know certain applications apply in certain times and not in other times. But nevertheless, Torah is always good. Friday doesn't say have something absolutely just ridiculously extreme. But anyway, Torah is good. It's God's will, wisdom, and heart. It's here for us. He loves us. And if he's able to say this to his friend, he can heal his friend in a completely different way. If he gives him his own advice, what works for his friend, it might be Bahabdil like science. Works for now, a little while later, it's something else. Gives him something in Torah that is, it's going to be something that will work forever. And it's going to be on a godly level. It's going to heal his friend in a completely different way. He'll feel connected to the light of God. And if we're connected to God, never mind what the problem. It doesn't matter what a person's going through. If they feel connected to God, it doesn't matter if it's, God forbid, hunger, poverty, chas v'shalom, struggles. I don't even want to say certain struggles. Struggles in any area of a person's life. When they feel connected to God, they feel good, they feel whole, they feel complete, they feel eternal. Feel God's infinite light, warmth, and oneness. There's no worries. He's healed and in a completely new way, in an eternal way. Not only does he feel his eternal soul, but he's got God with him in a way that he's, so to speak, healed, going forward and much more empowered, blissing out with the Creator. Not only he's gonna feel really good, he's gonna be much more empowered to live an empowered life and to go help another. You have to light him up until he can light someone else up and make it happen. But there's nothing like being close to the Creator. That's as good as it gets and makes any other pleasure look tiny. And it's going to erase a lot of his foreign desires. It's going to erase a lot of his foreign ideas. It's going to be able to get away from the harlotry, so to speak, and get back on track. Think about God Himself. All right, going forward. So he needs broad vessels, which are Torah. To be able to bring it down, he needs a lot of Torah. Maybe Se'er Parsha, so earlier maybe Pei Zion, maybe that's Shar Leah Rachel Pei Zion, Vizel Shona, I think, Vizacher Klal Zeh, Shane Nice Base Persufim, Elu Leah Rachel Khan, El Achar, he's Galas Mochin, the Abba Bizar, we can Lashainai. It's really Kabbalistic stuff. That the two profiles of Leah and Rachel, they only come after the brains of the father are revealed into the emotions. Mochin da Abu Bazar. So in the supernal, I'm not sure how much to say or not how much to say. 1 second. Alright, it's very nice to be inspired and feel close to God, but everything starts with some sort of intellectual experience. That's what the awareness is in your mind. And even if you got some funny feeling in your heart, I mean, it did start with something in your brain. Yeah, things can come straight from the heart. Generally speaking, consciousness is in the mind. And even those feelings in the heart have some correlation with the mind. Anyway, but if it remains an intellectual experience, that's nice, but it's not, and he has what to say to another person that will help them forever and ever. But it's not necessarily going to change him, even the way he feels. Let's talk about a few different levels. There's an intellectual awareness, that's great. It's no God's Torah. Then he could develop it that this awareness affects his heart. That's nice. Now he's walking around with a different feeling, a godly feeling. He wants to serve God. He's excited to serve God. He's excited to turn away from the extra piece of cake, whatever it is. Give up some gym time to learn a little bit, to help a friend, to go on with Soyim, whatever it might be. Give a little more charity. And he's got the feeling. Well, first is the brains, then is a feeling. But a person could have a feeling, and a good feeling, and not act on it. God forbid. So the last level is not only did he think it, he felt it, he brought it into action. Action is the end game in our physical world. The soul had it before. The soul was blissing out with God long before it was in the body, and the soul doesn't need any correction. The novelty of our world is the physical. The animal soul, the physicality of the world, the body, refining the body. It should be a godly body. It should want only God. The animal soul should want God. That's the work. That's the true work while you're here. That's the real work. And helping another to do this work. And it's important work. And when we do it, we'll have the ultimate redemption, which means eternal life. No more war, no more hunger. Have everything good at the touch of a finger, but nevertheless, all you're going to want is God's presence anyway, because that's the real good. And we'll have the Rebbe, which is nice, clearly revealed for everyone, and as well as all the great tzaddikim. And so it's definitely something worth working very, very hard for. We knew the importance of it, we do it all the time. Anyway, so with a lot of Torah, he's armed, but it'd be one thing if it stayed in his head, it's another thing if it makes it his heart, it's another thing if it translates to physical action, and maybe more important than action is speech. Say words of Torah. In many contexts, speech is considered action, but to reveal it in the physical world, not something that stays inside him in his head and his heart, he's living it. Bring it out in action. The end game is action. What's the next good move? A person's, God forbid, struggling. Get out of your selfish zone. Get out of your depressed, I'm thinking about me, selfish, woe is me zone. Because the same way a kid will take bad attention like good attention if he can't get it, an adult will take bad me time if he can't get good me time. So if he doesn't have the power and the courage and the strength presently to esteem himself, to go do the things he knows he should be doing, what's the next best thing for him? He's going to not esteem himself and be woe is me, lay in the bed and whatever it is and moan his fate and talk to his friend or whatever that. He's going to take bad me time, because what's the big plus? He thinks he's suffering. He thinks he's not. He loves it. He absolutely loves it. How is it he loves it? Because he gets to think about himself. His favorite topic, think about himself. So what does a person need to ask himself, whatever's going on in his world? He wants to make sure he's doing what God wants and something productive. The next good move. What's the next good move? In the next 5 minutes, and write it down, make a plan. What's the next thing he wants to do? Get in bed on time, get up on time. For young men, this is the trick, I find. Just make sure they go to bed at a reasonable hour. Young men tend to like those nighttime hours, and it's free, and I think they put in the day. Anyway, but they have to remember what their true love is God, Torah, mitzvahs, inspiring another Jew, and they want to get up early and help other people. And that helps the person to get in bed at the right time, get up at the right time, and these type of things. Anyway, what he needs to know is ask himself, so what's the next good move? What would God want now? Ask God to guide his thinking, to put him in the right way. Alright, so what's the next good move? He needs to ask these things. So let's see. So here we're talking about at least it made it to an emotional state. We're saying Leah is the letters of thought. And whether you think in pictures, which I found out is more rare than I thought recently, or whether you think in letters, we're going to describe thought as being made up of letters regardless. We're going to say this is the written law. Because all the many letters of Torah, we're going to say these are the many letters of thought. Like it says elsewhere. Pi'at Shabbosai Tishmeru, that you'll guard my Shabboses. Es Shabbosai Tishmeru, I think. A Pasuk. It's Es Shabbosai Tishmeru. Rachel Yoisis Adibur Torah Shabbat. I'm going to say that Rachel is the letters of speech, the oral law. So we've got Leah. The profiles of Leah and Rachel that have been discussed at this place in Eitz Chaim, it's only once the brains of the father revealed into the emotions, and these levels of Leah and Rachel, these profiles, are letters of thought and letters of speech, which represent the oral and written law. So how do you create this? You have to reveal the brains of the Father, which is Hashem's infinite light, the way it, Hashem's infinite blessed light, the way it dwells in His infinite blessed wisdom. And from the nullification that comes from experiencing Hashem's wisdom, His oneness, His closeness, Nimshak Hashuv. And a person will want to return. He'll kind of come down to planet Earth and make the world God's dwelling place. Which means bringing godliness down into, I'm going to say speech and deed. Here it says vessels and words. Second, please. Chaim, have what you want and need. Have Mashiach now. My favorite bracha, Cash, kids, and Mashiach. Should have all of those things. He is blessed, is blessed. And the next good move, the Yemshach came to Moses, Mashing Bekinas Mochin the Ema. But now when it comes to the brains of the mother, it's not this idea of making vessels and revealing God in the world and learning a lot of Torah and teaching your friend and feeling it and bringing it into thought, speech, and deed. What's the brains of the mother? It's going in the other direction, going up and out of the world, trying to get up there, get close to God, feel His closeness, His oneness, and get inspired. One is starting as the human being, working your way up towards God. We're kind of saying that's the brains of the mother. The other one is just starting out where God is, so to speak, and working your way back down and bringing it down to earth. So the brains of the mother, she's working her way up. She's getting out of the world, out of vessels and letters, so to speak. By in Mashikasa, V'divrei Moscow, V'yetzer Sa'adam, that V'parshas Breishis, Ekshi, Hosius, and Shaka Daikam, Hachmi, Lash, and Lamarla, V'bina, and Sham Berichas. And the Rebbe mentions here, if you want to understand this concept a little bit better, you could look in certain places how it is that these letters are drawn down specifically from Hashem's supernal wisdom that's higher than understanding, and it's discussed there at length. I think I got a phrase coming up I might need some help with. Alright, here we go, guys. See how we do with this. Therefore, when the brains of the father left, God forbid, which is a painful thing, an affliction, it's the affliction of the leper here. So let's at least say the idea and see if we can't bring it out. When the brains of the father leave, it seems to be we're saying that's when all the trouble starts. Seemingly, even if he has this tremendous desire to cleave to God, this wanting to go up and away, by itself could lead to big problems, apparently. He's got to want to bring it down. And if he wants to bring it down, he has to have what to bring down. But if he's trying to bring it down, at least he has an awareness of God and His oneness, and he's trying. I guess that keeps him out of a lot of trouble. Just going up and away, still has an awareness of God. And we're going to have to break it down a little further. But to have Ratzah without Shuv, we're saying is a possible affliction, God forbid. Because it says here that these profiles of Leah and Rachel won't be built up if this brains of the father is lacking. And instead it'll be some not good stuff. some blemishes. Why is that? Because they don't have this desire to return and bring it in the vessels and letters of holiness. And what happens is this, when there's only a desire to go up and out of a person to get close to God, then it could, God forbid, give nurture to the other side. It could, he's giving enough room for the world, this place for the world. It could, God forbid, the energy invested in the wrong direction. It could go the wrong way. If he starts with God's oneness, he really might not accomplish much, but whatever he will accomplish, it can't go wrong. But if he starts with him and working his way up towards God, unless he's perfectly focused, could lead to, God forbid, a lot of not positive things. For example, we see sometimes a person is very fired up during prayer, and if he doesn't go take this fire or love for God that he got during prayer and invest it in Torah study and something really positive, might happen afterwards that this fire that was for God could be used for something not so good. Being strict, being harsh, getting angry, getting arrogant, getting self-centered, or even, God forbid, improper desires. So since it's self-focused, it could go in the wrong direction. It has to be God-focused. God has to be right in the center of the picture. And if he has that, it's a pretty good chance. It's just a question of how effective it'll be, but at least he won't be going way off track. God forbid. And it mentions certain blemishes that correspond to Leah, and certain other blemishes that correspond to Rachel. One with Leah, two with Rachel. One light for Leah and two for Rachel. Because we're going to say Leah is thought and Rachel is speech and action, so that's why it's 1 and 2. I said that Silas, and specifically she's the. When we say Rachel's action, we're saying the action of the world of Atzilus, the highest of the 4 defined worlds, if we can say Atzilus is defined, although there are infinite worlds beyond that. Atzilus is just an emanation. There's no real creations yet, but it's starting to emanate out from the source. When you could say the first ray of the sunbeam coming out of the sun. Not really anything there yet, but it's coming out. It's still very united, very connected. No concealment, no hiddenness. All godliness. Nevertheless, could, God forbid, descend into trouble at a later point. Let's see what else we got. Hiya Malchus, and we're saying that Leah shows on Malchus, speech and deed. Rachel shows on Malchus, speech and deed. Alright, so let's see what the next good thing is. Let's continue in the minor. I'm Mashikasu Parsha Shlach Indian Dora Midbar, Indian Leah Rachel Ham Gimel Levushim Kshavadi Ramaisa. In another place it says Leah and Rachel are thought, speech, and action, so which corresponds to what we said here. Mishak Mokin Ab, and it also says over there, like we're saying here, that it all starts with the brains of the father. Azo Indian Alfin Sha'alaf Hu Yud Vav Yud. This is also the idea of, there's some numbers I didn't mention, of thousands. The Aleph is Yud Vav Yud, a gematria here. And if, God forbid, this awareness of God's oneness of presence should leave a person, he could be could get into the not greatest stuff. God forbid, he has to keep God's oneness at the center of the screen. Another place it mentions that Leah and Rachel are a name, obviously they're names. And then it also mentions, the sages say that all the Torah is full of Hashem's names. So another allusion to Torah, God's will, God's wisdom, staying connected to those things, the supernal oneness will lead to a lot of oneness and goodness and closeness. Like having the flag in the back, it's got fun when we spread it out. Shem Tov, which is a good name, as opposed to the other direction. If he's just going up and out of himself and doesn't have it perfectly channeled, it could lead to, God forbid, a bad name. And if someone speaks not good, that's exactly the opposite. Anikra Shem Ra. He can cause, so to speak, the same thing upstairs. When a person says words of Torah here, in this physical world, he reveals God's oneness. If he were to say the opposite here, which obviously isn't good here, what we see by the Metzora, he gets the worst ostracism of anyone in the Torah. He's kicked out, he's completely isolated, no human contact. Now why is that? Because he said evil speech, and what does evil speech do? It separates, God forbid, husband and wife, it separates friends. So since he took the time to separate people, we're going to separate him from people. So that, and more importantly, that he shouldn't separate anybody else. Alright, so what does this mean in a spiritual sense? The Hainu should be seen as shame, who v'osi is elu, u'mak archayas ara, v'hainu k'mash goes b'eitz chaim, shemenegim nimshek, yinikas a klipa. That from this level of shame, Hahuva Osios, it and its letters, becomes the source for something not so good. It says in Eitz Chaim, Shemenegayim Nimshik Nigas Aklipa, that from these blemishes is drawn down a nurturing to the klippa, which there's two levels of klippa. There's the parva klippa, like a computer, which is very powerful. Can be used for good things, like making Torah classes that you can put on the web, or it could be used for not such great things. So we'll say that's the parv zone, and then there's just things that are completely impure, that the only way to elevate them is stay away from them. Well, the source of the klippa comes from these, saying this improper speech that led him in a certain direction and possibly led to give an nurturement to a foreign side. Shame. Interesting. While there's that Namar and a feeling, however, Artsky Anshe shame. Came right as Karakasiv Anshe shame. There's a few not very bright moments in the Torah where we see this word name mentioned, and they were speaking and they weren't saying so good. There was I think people know them as the Tower of Babel. Those people wanted to have a name, and they didn't have such a good fate. They were rebelling against God. Then there were the giants. Also weren't so nice. They wanted to have a name, and there was Korach's crew, and they also wanted to have a name. So you see some of the not most positive things being associated with improper speech and ideas and this concept of name. What does this mean? So, because who did Korach argue on? He argued on Aaron. There's everyone accepted in the desert that Moshe was the leader. He was the king. There wasn't any question about this. And everyone accepted that Aaron was second in charge. The high priest. But when it came to certain additional appointments, Korach felt jilted. If I remember properly, Moshe and Aaron came from the Amram, who was the oldest of not four brothers. I think Korach was the oldest of the second oldest brother, and he felt he should have been appointed for the next most important position. So he rebelled. He rebelled against Aaron. He didn't want the Levim to be some secondary thing that they should, and spiritually that they should be subjugated to this state of the brains of the Father, which is just an awareness of Hashem's perfection in the world, His wisdom, His will, the way He is unto Himself, but revealed to God's perspective, so to speak, God's wisdom, His infinite blessed light, the way it shines in the Torah, and the way it shines here even, so to speak, the way Hashem sees things. He didn't want to be nullified to that. So we begin as Aaron, a coin, which this level is represented by Aaron. He is connected to God's infinite oneness and nullified to these things. He wanted the Levim to be their own thing. Aaron can have his greatness, and Korach wanted to have his own greatness. He didn't want to be second to the Levim. He wanted his own thing. He didn't want to have to start with Aaron, with Aaron's love. Shulio's Bechinas Ratz Lavad. He wanted to go. He wanted to be a people. He wanted to be a big macher. He wanted to be a maker. He had only a desire to go, to move. He didn't want to bring godliness down. He had a desire to get out, to ratzel, to run, to make something, to go. But if not channeled, and it's starting with a person based, it could lead to big problems like it did there. Should bring this ratzel Lavad. Reish Parshas Korach, Somali Iskalo Tadir B'Yamina, that the left that's constantly included in the right, or it's constantly, I think, extinguished, or it's either included or extinguished constantly in the right. Korach Bai L'Chalfa. Korach wanted to switch it up. So let's see, the left is Gevora, is a desire to get out of himself, and the right is Chesed, a desire to bring down. So this desire to get out of a person's Chesed precedes Gevora. Probably, you shouldn't say this, but I mean, we're likely going to say this soon. The desire to bring it down, but we have to bring it down, we want to channel it properly, and we want to have what to bring down. And we need inspiration, so we do need a desire to get out of ourselves and go be close to God and feel God's closeness, and then take that fire and bring it back down and against the grain. It's get excited to go out and take the excitement and bring it down. Bring it down, and God's perfect one is here, and go and just have it. A person might feel like they're there. Why do they need to move? If he feels God's oneness, he's already there. Then he has to get the fire going again. He wants to move. He wants to make the world for God. He might have it, but he wants others to have it. He wants to spread it. Whatever it is, he wants to get it done. So, it seems to me, from what I understand here from the Zohar, that the left should always be included in the right, meaning the desire to bring down should encompass the fire. The fire is for the sake of bringing down. The bringing down isn't for the sake of the fire. What we really start with is shuv. We want to end up here, with God here, and God's perfect revealed oneness here. We want God's complete infinity revealed here. That's the end game. So a person at least has shuv. He's working towards the end game in the right direction. Ratzo helps to generate a more powerful shuv. But Ratzo without shuv could go, God forbids, completely out of bounds. The end game, the encompassing part, the good part, the perfect part is the shuv. The Ratzo serves the shuv. And Korach wanted to switch it up, and it caused a lot of trouble. Zen Nimshik Niz, the Klipos, the Nikr Shem Ra. It caused a lot of energy to go in the wrong direction. Kumasha Kosev, Baraba Parshas Breishis, Sof Perikav Vav. So Perikavov, Nemar Khan Anshe Hashem, and Nemar Lahalan Kari Moide Anshe Hashem. Loshin Shem. Mashikaz of Karo Shem Paro, and also another not great characters associated with Shem. Shem can be good. It could be Shem Tov. We said it. Torah is full of Hashem's name. Shem could be a good thing, but it's not used properly. A person could. What about me? I want a big name. Could turn into something not so good. God forbid. V'zeu Hashem Yamusu. And it wasn't too good for them. Metzora Chashuv Kameis, like the Metzora. The Metzora spiritually is this idea of wanting to get out of himself without desire to return, and it can just lead into all the wrong directions. God forbid. Another place to look. Alright, let's. We might be able to do another os, but it'd be close. I want to erase it. Chaim L'chaim, Sheikh now. I think better we should hold here. Alright, thank you for listening. Appreciate very much that you're part of this. I should bless you all. I love you all. And let's connect. Let's stay connected. Let's grow. Let's get closer to God. I'm here for you. I want to help you. I want to love you. I want to bring you closer. I want to light you up. Get you excited. I'm here. I got a fire burning. I want to share it. I want you to feel good. I want you to feel God's presence. It's not so distant. Sometimes you need a little push. From Baruch Hashem, I'm very blessed to often feel close to the Almighty, B'liyan Hara. And I want to share it. I want you to have it. And sometimes it's much easier to get it from another person than meditation. So look, I'm pumped up about God. I think God's great. I feel God's presence. I feel the Rebbe's presence. The prophets are here. God is here. The greats are here. It's all here. I want to give it over to you. I am an acknowledged Rav in the town. I teach Smicha. I'm pursuing Dayanis. I love to learn, generally considered to be very bright, very sound guy. Happen to also, believe I have a very spiritual sense, and I want to pass it along and share what I have with the world and reveal God's greatness and the Rebbe's Malchus and have the redemption. Sheikh now.